If you are looking at the non-dual path or any spiritual tradition with the lens of fixing your suffering and feeling tremendous anxiety and fear and all these types of things, and kind of being incapacitated to live a normal life, the thing to come to terms with is that you're using it for the wrong thing. Non-duality isn't a fix for mental health. It's not a fix for physical pain. And it's not a fix for your suffering. This is the most craziest paradox around this path, is that we go through a process of ignorance. So we're in ignorance, and then we realize we're suffering. So in ignorance, we're suffering. But we don't know that we're suffering. Literally, we have no idea that we're suffering. I'm suffering, but I don't know I'm suffering. Then, so this is that level. Then we realize that we're suffering. And then the craziest part about this whole thing is that we don't have to do anything about the suffering. We don't. We don't have to do anything about it. In fact, the problem is that we're suffering. We don't know we're suffering. Then we realize we're suffering. Then we do the one thing that perpetuates the suffering. We try to do something about it. Trying to do something about it literally takes us right back to ignorance, because it's a new level of suffering. So trying to remove our suffering takes us right back to suffering. It's a new level of ignorance. It's like a sophisticated ignorance. It is literally the part of the path where you have no idea that you're even a human being. You only know that because you've been told in school, and you've just realized that the earth is round and gravity makes things go down. That's pretty much all you know. Like when we're in ignorance, that's pretty, all right, we may know a couple of other things, but we don't know what we are. We have no clarity as to, we know our gender. Nowadays, most people don't. I'm not politically correct. I'm spiritually correct. And in spirituality, there's two genders. That's all I'm saying. Then we get like a sophisticated level of ignorance. It's like ignorance with a hat on, with a little dicky bow. And it thinks it is less in ignorance than when it was previously in ignorance. So we'll look at our life and we'll go, oh no, I was in ignorance when I didn't know I was suffering. Now I'm suffering and I know I'm suffering. And now I'm not in ignorance. I should now get rid of my suffering, because that's the unignorant thing to do. But no, that's just a new level of ignorance. It's the same ignorance clothed in another language, clothed in a different form. It's the same thing. It's this more sophisticated version of the latter. No, the former, whichever one it is. What happens then is that we literally go, this is what actually happens, ignorance to none other than more ignorance. And the more ignorance looks like, now I know I'm suffering, I can get rid of it. Now you're consciously trying to get rid of it. Before, the reason you were suffering, so this is ignorance, trying to remove what is. Now you're consciously trying to remove what is. It is the same thing, but you're just doing it knowingly. So it's just so funny. Ignorance, more ignorance, isn't any less ignorant than being in ignorance. It's the same thing. So when we think we're on a spiritual path, because now I know I'm suffering and now I'm going to do meditations and practices and all these things, read books, listen to teachers, so that I can now consciously get rid of my suffering, it is still ignorance. It's the same thing. So you're just going around in circles. There's no progress being made. First you were an asshole, now you're a conscious asshole. So what do we do about this shenanigans? What do we do about this? Now what you do on a serious level is you've got to look at your experience like this. So this is you. Aren't you a handsome chap or a beautiful lady? Let's just say like you're born and whatever, trauma's collected. Trauma's collected. Trauma is not trauma. There's no such thing as trauma. unless we choose it for it to be. There's no such thing as trauma on an ultimate level. Trauma is the resistance to an excitation. So this thing right here is just an excitation. An excitation is energy. Energy is experienced as a sensation. So we don't experience energy, we experience a sensation. Well, the sensation is the physical form of the energy. Sensation is the physical form of E. So we're young, traumatized, this stuff happens, excitations, and we don't process it. Excitations also come from your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth, your fingers, right? These also create excitations. They are excitations, these experiences. Seeing, tasting, they're excitations, just in the same as this. This is what we could call a feeling, and a feeling is just an internal sensation. And whereas seeing requires is like an excitation or experience of like whatever you want to call this vision, tasting is the same. Now this, the feeling, which I call an excitation, it could be anything. It could be fear, it could be sadness, grief, excitement, whatever. It's the same thing. The only thing that changes what this is, it's always the same thing. It's always the same energy, the same excitation, the same sensation, varying degrees, clothed in a thought. And the thought will be a narrative that is created by these, right? Seeing, touching, and tasting. They will create a narrative of thought that we call a story. When you add those thoughts together in a particular pattern, we create a story. The story becomes a belief. And this neutral, normal sensation, we believe is the problem. We think this is the problem. But no, the problem is that we are trying to remove this out of an illusory reason. The reason being, this is now what will happen. So this feeling, you will believe, depending on why it is there, that it is going to kill you, kill someone else. Whatever comes to you, it'll give you reasons to avoid it, to not want it to be there. And usually it's going to be like, it's uncomfortable, it's painful. No, it's usually never painful. Unless you've just been shot or stabbed, that's not going to be physically painful, but you'll perceive it as painful. The reason why is because you think it can kill you in a weird way, or other varying things. Now what happens is these stuff create a story that prevents us from wanting to feel it. If we don't want to feel that, then we're going to, or see it is really what it is, not really talking about seeing it. Feeling it is an expression of understanding. And if we don't want to go through that process, then we won't look at it. But in order for this to be processed, it has to be looked at. You can't process that without looking at it. It has to be looked at. Like literally, you have to like actually experience it. Now you don't look at it with your eyes, obviously. You look at it with your third eye. You look at it with this bad boy right there. And in order to see it like that, well, you're not going to want to see it if it's going to kill you, or if it's hurtful or painful, or if it feels like loneliness, all of these things, because you don't want to face loneliness, right? If you don't want to face loneliness, when you attach all these ideas to it, you're going to want to get rid of it. So this is how trauma develops. Trauma is just the repeated response to a previous experience that we haven't looked at. And usually because at the time we didn't know how to look at it, right? If our parents were arguing in front of us when we were a child, our body doesn't know the difference between our parents arguing violently or a lion coming to attack us. Because when you're a child and your parents are very loud and aggressive with each other, like mine were, you don't know if you're going to be attacked. You're on fight or flight. And the body doesn't know what's going on. Your body doesn't know, oh, my parents aren't going to hurt me or do anything to me. Your body's preparing for the worst, basically. And that creates excitations. And so when you're a child, what you'll do is ignore it, especially when it's parents arguing, right? Sometimes you'll run, but I was watching TV in this particular instance, and I could see it in my peripherals. I was trying to just focus on the TV and I just ignored it. And then, the argument ended and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden my nervous system goes, oh, right, we just learned something. If you ignore what's going on, you'll survive. So then the next time something happens that isn't even related to my parents, it could be something someone else said in a neutral conversation, or a cartoon that I was watching, or the colors of the cartoon in a new instance when I'm 20 years old, all of a sudden I start feeling anxious. And I have no idea why. And then I go, oh, now I know. And this is when we come back to here. I was in ignorance, just experiencing all the suffering. Now I'm in ignorance, and now I'm experiencing more ignorance in the form of, I know I'm suffering, and now what's happened is the nervous system's gone, the last time that you felt this feeling because something was attacking you, you ignored it, and you survived. So now that we know we're suffering, instead of the situation being the thing that we avoid, the actual sensation in our body is the thing that gets avoided itself. This is only created by being the belief in being a temporary, limited, finite self, because that's what would create the metacognition of the feelings that I have. Without a limited sense of I, there would be no recognition of these types of feelings. You'd notice them, but just like before, you wouldn't notice them clearly. Just like an animal has them, but doesn't notice, like a dog shakes off its fear pretty quickly. And in normal instances when dogs and stuff feel fear, if you torture a dog, I don't know, the dog will probably be, or if it's seriously abused, which is pretty much torture, dogs may carry that. But generally speaking, a dog will shake the fear off, and animals will. They'll be left regular. Dog will be barking, fearful one minute, and loving and amazing the other, and there's absolutely no fear left. I don't even remember what just happened, and I'm having the best time of my life, right? Just like babies, right? So when we go through this process of developing an individual localized entity, we then see this as the actual threat. So we used to see tiger. Oh, golly. Give this tiger a little quiff. We used to think that this was the threat. This is not even a tiger, that's a lion anyway. We used to think this was the threat. Now, this is the threat. So now we avoid this. And now we think we've got to get rid of this, but we don't. So this process is very easy. Instead of getting rid of suffering, see, it's all supposed to be there. That's it. It's all supposed to be there. Now the question would be, why? Why is it supposed to be there? It's causing me suffering. Suffering isn't supposed to be there. Actually, it isn't causing you suffering. This is not causing you suffering. This is the same as all your excitement, all your love, all your joy. It's just energy experienced as sensation. And the sensation will appear in the form that you choose. So it's just going to appear in the form that you choose. I mean, the form that you choose it to be will be based on this, which is based on the story, which is based on the thought, based on your thought about it. So an emotion is a combination of a thought and a neutral sensation. So this is just a sensation, then we combine it with thought, and then it creates, this will then computate as whatever we think that actually is. But it's always the same thing. Energy, sensation, excitation, whatever form you want to call that, which then, without being looked at, will still be seeming like it's the lion. If you don't look at it, it's going to look like a lion because you've just made it out to be. You've created a monster. You've created a monster out of all these sensations that you don't want to face. That looks like a monster, to be fair. That looks kind of creepy. It's like something you see on The Grudge. So all that needs to happen is that you take away the beliefs that are based on the story. The minute that is done, this is just going to be experienced as a neutral sensation. And this is typically what therapy is for. Therapy does this. This is what therapy does. Talking therapy. You can't come to a non-dual teaching and expect them to do what therapy is supposed to do for you. So most people go to non-duality to look, how can I get rid of this? How can I create more stories, more beliefs that will help me get rid of this? That's not how it works. Do you see how illogical that is? Non-duality is supposed to help you see you are already free. Using it as a means of getting rid of something is the last thing it is even capable of helping you do, because its intention is not on that level. So some of you have seen me do this analogy, this diagram before, but let's say that you're this person who's, the meditation cushion, and, you've got your sacral lower chakras there, heart chakra, throat chakra, third eye, and blah, blah, blah chakra. Well, everything that, all of this realm takes place here in these lower three chakras. In other words, do something. This is the realm of that level. Do something to create a result or action. So literally, all of this, which is 99% of people's spiritual search and spiritual path, is literally trying to do something to get a result or action. This is what the lower three chakras do. They help us build, create, breed, eat, build fires, things like that. This is what these do. You can't, it's like tapping sticks to make sound. That's the same realm. So you're not going to be able to use these energies that literally are the same energies that help you create fire and breed and, tap sticks to make sound in order to have spiritual insight. It's impossible. Why? Because you cannot do something to experience this. You have to remove knowledge. The only thing that is preventing you from, we're just using terms here, I don't use these regularly, but spiritual insight, for the sake of this analogy, is to remove knowledge. The only way you can remove knowledge is through the path of understanding. Why? Because understanding is the process of removing knowledge. That's literally what understanding is. So basically, in order to have an experience at all, we have to create an experience, and it has to be experienced from a localized point of view, because our essence is an absolute field where we do not have any form, size, shape, color, or any particular experience whatsoever. You can't remember that. So you can't look back there and go, oh, I was just this free, infinite, unlimited, non-existent, non-thing thing. Therefore, I won't suffer when these things happen, and I won't therefore create an individual identity. You can't remember that. So it's almost as though you simply always were. It is as though when you're in ignorance, you always were this infinite entity, because you don't have any memory of being born, you don't have any memory of being the infinite. So you can't even remember a time where you weren't in ignorance. And then the weirdest thing happens. When you realize what you are, you can't even remember a time where you weren't what you are. You see, you look back without the filter and you go, I was always this. So how did I ever think that I wasn't this? It's a really interesting paradoxical experience. So all this to say, you cannot use non-duality to remove your suffering, because it's literally impossible to remove your suffering to begin with, let alone to let a path that strictly is saved for a level of reality which is incapable of finding through these lower three do chakras. I will do something about my suffering. I will do this to do that to get this. We're still seeking states at that stage. And those states are not what the truth is. They're just a state that you've done, that happened, and that has occurred because you've tried to do and remove something. It's all physiological. The true state isn't a state, and it's not physiological. So this isn't a path to remove your suffering. Non-duality doesn't even claim to remove suffering. What it does is show you suffering doesn't even exist. But then, in order to take that path, you have to desire truth. And you have to see that happiness cannot be found anywhere in this area. Happiness is here. And you have to realize happiness is only here. You cannot find happiness from anything in the world. But there'll be parts of you that are convinced you can. There'll be parts of you that are convinced, the minute I get rid of this, I'll find happiness. Or the minute I don't feel like I'm going to die, or the minute this disappears, and the minute state seeking continuously, it's like never ending. It is ending eventually. And the only thing that really works is the path of understanding, at least in my point of view. So I hope this was clear. I hope this makes a lot more sense. I hope this makes sense as to why your suffering has still perpetuated after probably so long on the spiritual path, purely because it is impossible to remove suffering. Suffering removes as a result of understanding, and the real reason is because suffering never actually takes place. We believe this is the suffering. It's not the suffering. That's not suffering. Suffering is the resistance to that. Suffering is the belief you need to get rid of this, and consequently the feeling of it not disappearing when you want it to, mixed with it is also painful, kills me, uncomfortable, blah, blah, blah. These are all stories. So I hope this brings a lot more clarity. I give talks and meditations and free support every single week in the free community. The link's in the description if you'd like to join that. If anyone wants to work with me, feel free to click the link as well, but I do not recommend applying until you've actually been in the community and joined my free course first and experience exactly what it is that I do, the path that I share. I've got a free course in the community, which you can go through. And again, I recommend going through that before you go through even the calls in the group, or at least do the calls while you watch that. This will help you get a sense of what's going on with what I share. Have an amazing day, guys. Take care.